There we are. We have about a month left, a little bit less together. And the next couple of weeks, what we're going to be doing is basically allowing for report presentations, talking about questions that people might have, dealing with doing the last few, or doing the tools of artistic critique observations, as well as reworking projects and finishing or doing the colorful cocoon project. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about the PowerPoints and informal reports for the service people. And if there are any volunteers to do the critiques, we'll do that as well. And then the rest of the time, I'm going to talk about two artists that really kind of define cocooning and what this kind of thing that we're dealing with. And we'll talk about that in just a little bit. First off, is anybody here who wants to do or is able to do critique of either their own work or somebody else's work?
I wanted to
do my critique today.
Okay, so
Cassidy? I would like to do my critique too.
All right. Now, are these three, are all of you going to be doing something of your own or somebody else's?
I was going to do my own, and well, I was sick the day I was supposed to do both of them, so I have my own with me, and if I can do somebody else's, I would like to.
Okay. How about you, Keely?
I was just going to do my own.
Okay. And Cassidy?
I'm good to do my both if we have time.
Okay. Let's do this. Let's if you guys are ready, let's go ahead and have you do that. And if you have an image of the other person's stuff, Sage and Cassidy, if you can email it to me, or if you know how to share it on your own with your own computer, that'd be great. I don't know. I don't know how to give permission for somebody to share. If you can share it and you know how to do that, that'd be awesome.
I can email it to you.
Okay. Okay. And how about you, Sage? Sage, you want to? Can you send me an email for the other thing?
She may have stepped out to grab her project.
Yeah, I'm thinking so. Okay, let's. Who wants to start us off with their own thing? Cassidy, did you already email that to me? Or actually, when you do, would you just let me know when you do, and then I'll pull that up and you can do your thing.
Will do. Working on it right now.
Okay, excellent. In the meantime, Keely, can you turn on your camera and show us your artwork?
Yep. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see it.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the structure with a skin project. This is going to be kind of weird for me to talk in third person, but I'll try. Okay, so for this piece, it looks like the artist used wood, glue, and like yarn for the project. What's really interesting is that as you like continue to move the shape around, it makes different, I guess, objects and angles for which you could look at it. And that's something that I really like about this piece, is that it's always evolving and changing. The shapes that it's made out of are like triangle prisms. And I think with like how that they're organized, they're kind of like random. I mean, you have like this one side that's like really tall, but then if you like turn it, then like this side's tall. And I mean, standing it up on an actual surface, there's different ways that it can be balanced. And I think like with the meaning of the piece, I just think about like using yarn, like how it's used in like everyday objects and through like all time in history for different things, and how it's kind of an important part of human civilization, but yet so is like wood. And so together they kind of create this natural feeling of, I don't know, just a natural feeling of being part of nature, maybe, and how tied we are to nature. And so, and how like balanced we are, or how we should be balanced with nature, even though we're not a lot of the time. But anyway, so I think with the interpretation that maybe the artist could have done a little bit more with like making a little bit more neat and adding more shapes. It'd be really interesting to explore more of this idea of making more of these shapes to evoke that idea. So anyways, that's it.
All right, well done. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks.
Before we get to everybody else, I'm going to do roll call really quick. Keely, I'm assuming you're here.
Yep.
Okay, and the first code word is triangle. All right, and is Alyssa here? Delane? Okay, it looks like Cassidy and Sage both just sent me images, so I'm going to try to dig those up in just a second. James, are you here? Okay, Sage, you're here. Hazel?
I'm here.
Okay. Hayden?
I'm here.
Excellent. Emily?
I'm here.
Good. Is Emery here? How about Brinley? Cassidy, you're still here.
Yep, still here.
Okay. Kayana? Taylor?
Here.
All right. Sage Sagers? Okay. Michael? Are you here? Let's see. Karen?
Here.
Excellent. Evan, you're here. Okay, Hillary.
Yep, I'm here.
Is Hillary here? No? Okay. The second code word is missing. Okay. Now I'm going to, while you guys are hanging on for just a second, I'm going to see if I can pull up those images right now. Let's see. Okay, Sage, I have pulled up yours. Do you want to go first?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to do a screen share here. All right, can everybody see that? Can everybody see the photo I put up?
I can see it.
Okay, all right. All right, Sage, if you want to take it away, that'd be awesome.
Okay, so this structure is made of what looks like round, skinny stick, hot glue that's stringed on top of each other to make like a sheet, as well as colored clay. The way it is put together makes it look really playful, and like the coloring and everything like that, it makes it very fun and interesting, especially with the way she put the different triangles together. It kind of reminds me of like a children's playground. That's kind of what it looks like. And I wonder if the artist that was kind of her goal, to make it look kind of childlike and interesting in that way. But yeah, I just love it. Like even the way she put the glue kind of looks like it'd be rope for like kids to climb on. I think she did a really good job of meeting like this, of making a very interesting piece that really has good balance with all of the elements she used. And it's just, I think she did a great job. I don't know, did I meet all the things? I'm trying to go through what I was thinking.
Well, yeah, I would look at the judgment thing a little bit better.
Okay.
See if you can articulate that, because why do you think she did a great job? What are the elements that seem to be well done?
Oh, okay. I think she did a great job because all the pieces work together to make something that's really playful and fun to look at and like observe. It's something that you want to keep on looking at, and like I could see like different sides of it to kind of see like all the different ways the colors kind of change and interact when you go around it.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a lot better articulated than great job.
Yeah.
So yes, very nicely done. Okay. I'm going to stop the screen share really quick and go to the other image. Let's see. And then we'll go back and you guys can do your own. If you have, are your videos working?
Mine is, yeah.
Okay, let me do, okay, here's, I have a second picture of the same thing. So let me do, let's see, Sages. Let's see if we can open that up. Actually, it looks like you guys are both doing the same object. Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna pull up the other picture that I've got. Let's see. Okay, we're gonna do screen share again, see if you guys can see this. Okay, can everybody see that? Can everybody see the photo? Okay.
Yeah, we can see
I can.
it.
Okay, can you see this, the second photo I put up, or is that just the screen share is only for the first one? Oh, hold on a sec. Let me go back. Okay. And so we're back to the first photo again.
Yeah.
Okay. So
This
Cassidy,
is picture 2.
right. Okay. There, it kind of threw me for a loop because both of you are doing the same student work. So the second person, who was it that just went? Was it Cassidy?
It was me, Sage, that just.
Sage. Okay. Cassidy?
Yeah,
do
I
you
still
want
need to go.
Okay. If you want to do this one, and then we'll go back to Sage to do her own thing, and we'll go back to Cassidy to do her own thing. All right?
Okay.
Does that make sense? Ish?
Ish.
Okay. All right. Hit it, Cassidy.
Okay, so this one, it looks like it's made out of balsa wood or bamboo sticks or something like that. And then it's got the plastic mesh type material on some of the faces. And then the corners are covered with clay or yarn or something like that. And it's nice that it's tall, but it feels balanced even though it's not symmetrical. It has the way that some of the faces are covered and others aren't creates a sense of depth, and the particulars of the colors and the materials used makes it look like it reminds me a lot of like a children's playground, you know, climb up on the various nets and such. And I think that this piece fits the requirements of the project very well. They used, you know, the different materials to bring life to the piece, and it's balanced to stand, it's balanced visually, but it doesn't feel plain or boring, especially with that wider area in the middle.
Okay, how would you, or what's your response to it? What do you think it means, or does it mean anything?
I think it's happy and cheery, and I like that they took the picture in sort of a bright, sunny room, because that, I don't know, that's kind of the feeling I get from this piece.
All right, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just asking, what is one of the elements that makes this feel fun?
I'd say definitely the bright colors, and the sort of material of the mesh reminds me a lot of those the playgrounds. Like that first sort of level where it's flat and it's got that flat mesh that you could almost stand on. It really reminds me of like the massive playgrounds that they have at like Boondocks or something.
All right, excellent, very good. Yeah, I like when you guys say something and then you're able to back it up with saying, yeah, this is why. I think that makes you sound like you really know what you're talking about. So thank you. Excellent work. All right. Can we go back to Sage and have you do your own thing?
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if you can see it all that well with it being like wire and hollow, but this is a butterfly, if you couldn't tell by the wings, made completely of wire. The entire structure is consisted of both silver and black, and the entire thing is twisted. Even the little bones of the body has wire twisted together, which gives it a very like soft look rather than what could be really harsh with wire. I also realized that the artist chose to do all of the more detailed in the black to make it kind of stand out more to the eye. I definitely think that the artist really wanted to capture kind of how fun and interesting butterflies can be, especially their wings and all the details. I could tell they really paid a lot of attention to an actual anatomy of a butterfly and try to mimic that. I think it definitely is not completely realistic because the wings are obviously very small and it doesn't have enough legs. But I still think it was done in a way that's interesting and captivating and and this purpose isn't really to grab the attention as being like perfectly realistic, but rather to kind of be interesting in how she looped the wire. Yeah.
Could you embellish your interpretation a little bit? Because I think that's a really pretty good analysis. How would you interpret it?
I would interpret it as I think that, let me think about this for a sec. I definitely think that this artist loves nature and really wanted to focus on kind of how fun a butterfly can be, and kind of wanted to capture that and really focus on how cool these like really small little structures of insects and stuff can be when they're larger and seen like big enough that you could actually like touch it and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's finish off with judgment.
Judgment. I definitely think that it's super fun. I love the wings. I think the wings were done in a way that's very beautiful and interesting. Like you keep on kind of wanting to look at it and trying to see all the little places they added. It's kind of hard to show on screen, but there's little details everywhere of the twisting, even around like all the little boning and the edges. It makes it really fun and kind of shows how interesting these things are that we wouldn't really notice. We wouldn't notice in our day-to-day lives. We wouldn't really think about it because they're small and they kind of come across as insignificant.
All right, excellent. All right, very good.
Thank you.
All right, Cassidy, do you want to go?
All right, yeah. So I decided to do it on my piece here, which was the structure with the skin piece. I don't know how well you can see it. I fortunately don't really have a backing to use, but this is it. So I think, so the piece, it looks like it's made out of some sort of thin wood, probably balsa or bamboo, and covered with a tape of some kind, probably a painter's tape or duct tape in a bright green color. It's kind of got an asymmetrical balance to it, with this area here being very heavy and dense, and then this area here being very open and there's not much detail there. This area at the top here, kind of this wheel, has a rhythm to it with all of the repeated triangles, and triangles are a shape that's repeated throughout the entire piece. The piece as a whole kind of reminds me of like a water wheel, with this up here especially, and then sort of like a what's it called? Sleeping Beauty. It's a spindle. Oh gosh, the weavers.
The moment you started flicking your fingers, the word had totally left my brain.
Anyway, the thing Snow White or Sleeping Beauty perks her finger on and falls asleep. I can't remember what it's called, but that's what it reminds me of, with the wheel and then sort of this sharp bit here.
The spinning wheel spindle.
Yes, the spinning wheel with the spindle. Thank you. I could not remember that. So yeah, that's what that reminds me of. And I think it was a good piece for the assignment. I think adding some more covered bits up top, or perhaps removing a few through this area with the complicated lines, could have helped the piece a bit more. But overall, I'd say it's a good piece.
All right. What do you think about the artist's worldview? What does it say? What's your interpretation of how they view the world?
I'd say that I'd say that they view the world in a very, kind of structural way, with all of the sort of triangles and supports. Anyone who's studied architecture or physics could tell you that triangle's the strongest shape, so they use that a lot in this work, so perhaps they've, studied that before.
I also think if you look at the bottom, the way that the green tape is shaped, it's almost organic. It's almost like spider webbing. And the color is really bright. It's not like typical painter's tape. So I would think that the worldview of the artist would probably include a little bit of something like whimsy. So
perhaps whimsy in nature, yes.
Yeah, I think the color choice is something that might hint at that. All right, well done.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys. That is 5 examples. For the people that want to do stuff in class, when we start class, please let me know, because otherwise I will totally forget that you had volunteered and sent me 3 emails and talked to me out in the hallway. Once the class starts, sometimes my brain, I get too focused on things. So as we move forward, please remind me that you have a presentation at the beginning of class, and I will curtail what I'm doing so that you can do your presentation. I wanted to mention that for PowerPoints and informal reports on service learning, if you guys want to do that, send me the recording so we can put it on YouTube. You will get extra credit putting it on YouTube. So it's not a requirement, but if you'd like to, that'd be great. Next semester, I will be requiring everybody to record themselves so we can have it on YouTube. And I'm looking for some really good examples to put up that people can follow. So that's why I'm offering extra credit for that. You don't have to do that. You can still get full points without doing it, but if you choose to do it, you will get extra points. Excuse me. For the rest of the next couple of weeks, we are going to be talking about the Colorful Cocoon Module 6. And for that, for the last couple of minutes that we're together, I wanted to go over to an artist team that I think is really admirable, that is a good illustration of what the cocooning is all about. It's not just, well, I will tell you, in the last couple of years that I've done this, I've had some people wrap stuff up with Christmas paper. I've had people just put plastic bags over something and wrap it with tape and think, okay, well, this will do the assignment. I've also had people buy a whole bunch of different sizes of jingle bells and just cover their plaster carving with layer on layer and layer of jingle bells. And I think that is a little bit more successful than just sticking in a plastic bag and labeling it done. So I'm going to do a screen share so I can show you these guys and see if anybody knows who they are. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see. Give me just a second here. There we go. Can everybody see this image?
Yes.
All right, excellent. This is a guy named Christo, and he and his partner, Jeanne-Claude, are absolutely famous for doing things like wrapping islands with plastic. Do you know who this guy is? As we go through, we'll look at other pictures, and it'll become more. I think all of you have seen some of his work, just may not attach the artist to the work. In the late 50s, early 60s, he did a whole series of these objects that are essentially just wrapped paint cans and bottles. Now they look really pretty mundane. Before we talk about this, I would like to hear from a couple people. What are your impressions of this image? What are you seeing?
I really like the texture of the wrapped can, like that fabric and the string, like just makes a really nice texture. It kind of really contrasts the paint from the bottom can, because it's kind of just a simple plain color versus the can that's covered in lots of different colors. So I just like the texture.
All right, good. What does it make you think of? Is there anything that comes to mind as to where you might stumble across this thing or find it? Those are good observations. Some of the impressions that I've heard have been dirty. Reminds some people of garages, just the junk that they have in the corner of the garage. Is there anything else that anybody associates with this?
I also think about like military canvas bags.
Yeah, I see with that because of the texture of the cloth that's used, right?
Yeah.
Okay, those are good observations. As we move down, I want you guys to think about something. You saw the scale up here. All these these are regular sized paint cans, so they're not very big. But also, every element of this is something that is fabricated by him. So he may find an old paint can, but he added material to it to get it to this state. And this cloth is very deliberately wrapped and folded and then tied very specifically. The way he's got the coloring on the cloth comes from, he usually will rub things like paints onto the cloth until it becomes really thick, and then he'll rub dirt and gravel on the cloth. He will sketch out where the strings go, sketch the knots until they feel right, and then knot it on. So everything is very deliberate. Now look at this piece. I'm sorry I can't get the whole thing into my screen at the same time. But I want you to look at this and look at what's happening with the colors in each of these objects, knowing that he makes the finishes off the objects. A lot of these are found objects, but he manipulates them. What are some observations you can make about the placement of color? You see the color in the bottle on the left-hand side. Where is that echoed in the rest of the pieces?
The very strong red of the farthest right kind of cans stands out against all the other like grays and neutral colors, as well as the browning colors of two of the wrapped pieces.
Yeah, they're very warm. They tie in directly with the oranges and reds in that bottle, don't they? And then we've got this gray that kind of mimics the gray in that center metal can. But do you notice any other colors on that metal can? Do you see that kind of orangey creamish color in some of the stains in the middle and towards the bottom of that silver can? And that reddish stain, the reddish rust stain at the top right? Can everybody see that? Can anyone see that?
I can see it.
All right, good. And that really helps to tie in with the color of the other plate pieces, doesn't it? Can anybody make any observations about the string and the cloth that are being used to wrap these cans? What do you notice about them? Are they wrapped
Well,
the same? What's that?
Well,
Oh.
I find it interesting that the knots are actually at different levels on each of the wrapped objects. Some of them having higher up, and it's interesting that some of them line up a bit. Like in the farthest top right one, its thread kind of lines up with where the height of the other cans and following up the line of the cans it's stacked on.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Does it make sense that everything is completely deliberate? It looks kind of random, but I mean, those folds, those knots, he did all that on purpose. I think those two cream-colored cloth wrap cans, we look at where the string crosses, and it's the same cross on both of them, but on the middle can, that cross is higher and to the right, and on the top can that you were just talking about, it's lower and on the right. And I think it's interesting that both of them, even though the string is almost on the same, vertically, it's almost on the same placement, the wrapping is completely different too. Can anybody else make any observations about the wrapping of these materials? You see the one knot that's in full view? The one knot is in almost the exact center of the composition, horizontally. One thing I think is really interesting is that you can see where the gravel and dirt has been rubbed into the paint that's been used. You can see the wear and tear on these things. It looks like they've been in a garage for decades. And knowing that everything is deliberate, how does that change your perspective on these images?
Well, honestly, us leaving stuff in our garage for ages is kind of deliberate too.
Yeah, I think to a certain extent that's right. I think what's fascinating with this, he's taken found objects and manipulated them to make it look specifically like they were found in that condition. I think that's pretty fascinating. Okay, here's his partner, Jeanne-Claude. She is, this is the storage area of their apartment, and you can see some of the pieces that they were working on there. But here's two more things that I wanted to show you. That one on the left, it's really looks kind of simple, but again, he's dealing with wrapping and then leaving the can underneath almost untouched, apparently. We're going to talk in just a second about why the importance of wrapping. But on this one on the right, consider every element of this is painstakingly made specifically for this installation. Look at how he's placed the colors. Look at the background design and texture that are done. How long do you think a piece like this actually took? Anybody want to guess? Anybody have an idea how long it took him to make these things?
They honestly look like maybe a couple hours, maybe like 6 hours, but I know I'm probably way off.
Well, and honestly, I think as he got better, he could probably do it faster, but considering how he prepped the material, how he selected his containers, that he put layers of paint on, sand them down, and layer them up again, how he treated the canvas, he would do sketches of where the knots and string would go before doing it. It would take days to do something like this, just because of how meticulous everything was. But when you see it, it doesn't look like it took days. It looks like he found these, doesn't it? Now I want to show you something else. I think now here you'll get an idea of who these people are. Does anybody remember this?
No.
Yeah, that's because this will actually be on display later this year.
Ah.
But he did the Reichstag. He wrapped the Reichstag completely in plastic. They did. In Utah, they went down to Navajo Bridge and put some windsocks down there. They also I don't know if you remember several years ago in Central Park, they put up a bunch of orange cloth gates for people to walk through.
I
These
do
are
remember that.
okay. This is these people. Now, when we talk about found objects, what are the things that make the found object use as art? What transforms them into art?
I mean, with like Duchamp, with the fountain, it's just a change in perspective. But I guess in this case, the found object being the arch, it's transformed into art by a change in presentation.
Well, I think you're right on both counts. I think it's they're changing perspective, they're changing presentation. I think they're also providing a different context. What is the ironic thing about covering a big thing like this with plastic? When you cover something, what are you usually trying to do?
I guess the ironic thing is you're usually trying to make it unable to see, like a curtain over a stage. But in this case, if you're wrapping the whole thing, then you can still very much see the arch, even some of the details of the arch. Yeah, I guess my question is, how do you get that much plastic?
That's one thing. He was really good at writing grants, that's for sure. But that's one of the things they did. They would call attention to the landscape. There's one famous one where they did surround some Florida Keys islands with plastic. And it was all done. Several people got really upset about it. But the ironic thing about covering these things with plastic, it forces the viewer, forces the audience to engage with them more. Because suddenly now the thing that they no longer saw because it was ever present, the fact that it's now hidden makes it more interesting. And so curiosity is aroused. And when they did that in the Florida Keys, it really woke people up to how much trash was everywhere. And the manatees being endangered because people threw garbage everywhere. And the people living on those islands that they surrounded with plastic are still will talk about how grateful they are that Jeanne-Claude and Christo came and helped people to recognize the problems they were having. So the irony is when we hide something or cocoon it, it forces curiosity to really kick in even stronger. And so it engages your audience even more. Before we meet next week, I would like you guys to go through all the videos and information in that module 6, doing the research portion for the artists, and just look at them and be prepared this next week to talk in class about who are your favorite artists. What are they doing with this cocooning idea? And if you need to work on any of your projects and anything, feel free to bring them to class and we'll work on them too while we're talking. But as we do the cocooning, I would like you to consider things like Marcel Duchamp was talking about presentation. He was talking about art because he says it's art. Forcing people to observe it in a different context, presenting it in a different context. Sometimes he would turn things upside down and put pieces of junk together in new combinations that nobody ever thought of. But one of the things, because of that pareidolia, because of that almost insanely persistent habit that human beings have of trying to associate meaning with things and trying to find order, we instantly start building narratives. We can't help it. If you walked around the corner and saw this huge mastaba, you couldn't help but start making stories about it in your head, whether or not you understood what the artists were trying to do. I mean, it's just something that's nonviolent confrontation, and it shocks you out of your comfort zone. You instantly start making up stories. So I want you to think about those things, and I want you to go through all that artist research, all those videos and those articles, and see what you can conclusions you can draw. Not necessarily conclusion, but see also what types of aspects that makes you think about. Playing with ideas of context and narrative, getting your viewer involved by forcing them to confront an idea where their monkey curiosity makes them want to see what you've hidden from them. These kinds of ideas. Does anybody have any questions about this?
So for the Cocoon project, if I'm understanding this right, we are using found objects and wrapping them based on the principles that we've just talked about, right?
Yeah, and before you start doing that, I want you to go through the research section,
Right.
and we'll talk about it in class. You can use one of your own works that you've already made. You can use a collection of things that you find. You can do any number of different things. And on Tuesday and Thursday, we'll look at what Jason did with his stick Indians. And we'll look at different ways of approaching this project. This is one of the aspects of 3D design is something called conceptual art, where you're purposely dealing with manipulating people's thoughts, and that's the material that is your medium. And this wrapping or cocooning something, we're dealing with people's expectations and the narratives that they build over something and their relationship with the meaning of an object when we take it out of context or provide a new context for it. So we're going to be exploring all of that. Okay, I'm turning off screen share. Does anybody have any questions about critiques, PowerPoint presentations, or informal reports and service learning? How's everybody doing with the service learning thing? In the other class, two of the service learners were saying that their project was humming along and then their contacts stopped talking to them completely. Is anybody here doing the service learning?
Nope.
Yeah, I had two options for my service learning, and I did all of the module on one option, but that fell through. So with that, I'm going with another option. Do you want me to redo all those assignments, or what would you like me to do with that?
Well, after we, I think it would be unfair to make you redo that. So let's talk about how you can pivot and get that work that you've already done, apply it towards what you're doing now. So if you don't mind staying after our session for just a couple minutes, we'll talk about that more.
Okay, perfect.
And if any of the other service learners would like to stay after and talk with us too, that'd be great. So for this weekend, please look at that research section of Module 6, watch all that, and be prepared to talk about it on Tuesday. And if you guys would like to bring your work and critique stuff on Tuesday and Thursday, or you need to do your PowerPoint presentations and informal reports, please remind me at the beginning of class so we can make sure and take care of that while you're there. All right? If there's no more questions, I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend, and I will look forward to seeing you on Tuesday and Thursday. And the last code word is pecan.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you. We'll see you guys. And I'm ending the recording now.